everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 495, and today we're doing battle in the Fates Voyage Onward Worlds Qualifier Top Cut. And so, as we say at the beginning of all of our best of 3 videos, if you're wanting to see these decks more in depth, you can scroll backwards through the channel. We've covered off on all of them, and we've done a good bit of that here recently since we did a preview video to the Open, and then the day 1 is over there as well. And so that's available if you want to go back in time. We'll cover off on the strategy just a touch. This will be the third video in a row we've talked about it, and so I don't want to get into it too much, but if you're new here just for the Top Cut video, I want to give you a little bit of intro. And so if you're wanting to just skip ahead to the games, we're playing the exact same lineup as we did on day 1. We're going to be playing Jax Ornn, we're going to play Aatrox Vayne Quen, and we're going to play Galio Jarvan Garen Freylord Formidables. And so the idea with the lineup is I think this format has 2 major decisions in terms of building your lineup and what to bring. Number 1 is, are you going to ban Janna? And then number 2 is, are you going to play Janna yourself? And so it's extremely common to come in with the idea to just ban Janna Nyla and bring it yourself. If your opponent bans your Janna Nyla, fine, whatever. But that's fallen about one of the most common strategies in this format. But my problem with the ban Janna kind of strategy is I don't really like any of the decks that benefit from that. I don't want to come out and play garbage stuff like Ashe LeBlanc. I don't want to play anything that has set in it. It's just like all of the decks that really benefit from banning out Nyla Janna. Just not stuff that I want to play. And so that's, kind of thought number 1 in terms of how our lineup came together is we want to play decks that are good against Janna Nyla. The second piece to that was we also wanted to play decks that were good against scouts. All of the decks that we're bringing today have a pretty even to almost positive matchup against those 2 decks. And so I feel pretty comfortable and confident going into what is probably the 2 most common decks of the format. That next thing to really decide about was, do you actually want to bring Nyla Janna yourself? And I believe that, you should. If you were out there asking me what you should play in this event, I think Nyla Janna is definitely in the list. But my problem with it is kind of the content creator problem as to where I try to play a different deck every day in the videos that we play, and that kind of limits the amount of time that I have to come in and play other decks. And so I feel really far behind in terms of playing Nyla Janna, and I feel really far behind in terms of playing Nyla Janna mirror matches. And so I just kind of completely took that off the table. We are going to be such an underdog in the mirror match that I just didn't want to even bother with it. And so that's where we kind of landed on these 3 decks. I feel really comfortable with all these decks. I've played a bunch of Jax Ornn. I haven't checked, but I feel like I played Jax Ornn in like 3 out of the last 4 opens. I think we played the Eternal Open, we played Formidables, and then Aatrox Vayne Quen is one of those decks that typically pops up as a very common 3rd deck in these best of 3 events, and so we've played a ton of it as well. And so I was ultimately pretty comfortable with all of these decks. I feel pretty good about the matchups they're going into and the outcomes that we're getting there. And so the last thing that I wanted to talk about before we briefly go over the deck lists is my kind of concern in this format was going to be running into lineups looking to target the Formidables deck. And so if you think at a really high level what this format should kind of look like, you have people trying to play the best deck, that's Janna Nyla. You have people trying to play the deck that beats the best deck, that's the Formidables deck. And then the next level is playing the deck that beats the deck that beats the best deck, right? And so the people bringing lineups that are looking to target down the Freylord Demacia based decks, whoever you're bringing in Freylord Demacia, whatever combination of Formidables or Gnar Jarvan or Vayne Jarvan, whatever, looking to target those down, typically with stuff like Elusives or Shen Jarvan or Ashe LeBlanc. And so my major concern, the one that I kind of suspected would be the kind of top dog in terms of rising to the top, in terms of the anti the anti-Freylord deck is going to be the Teemo Elusives. And I think that really kind of started to play itself out. You did start to see a lot of the Mastering Runeterra folks playing Janna, Nyla, and then Teemo, and then something else. And so the way that we were looking to kind of combat that is we're playing the maximum number of Omen Hawks and the maximum number of blocking Badger Bears that we can across all of our decks. So Jax Ornn has the 3 birds, the Formidable's has the birds and the Badger Bears, and then Aatrox Vayne has the Badger Bears. And so it gives us a little bit of a safety net against those style of decks. And so if we do run into one of those lineups, we could potentially look to ban away Ashe LeBlanc and then still play against Elusives if we have to. It's probably not going to be a superstar matchup, but it's something that we have a little bit of game against, and we feel a little bit more comfortable going into those. Even though the matchups aren't that great. And so, to bring up the individual deck lists themselves, there's nothing too crazy with Aatrox Vayne. We have the 10 equipment within it. I really like the blocking Badger Bear. We touched off on that. But one of the other things I think is very important in this format is having access to tough and access to 4 health units. And so, as you do look to play against Janna Nyla, all of their removal spells are damage based. And so, you can, if you have tough on your units, it can make them now require 2 removal spells to take it down, or if you have 4 health, that kind of fits right in the same boat. And so I really like this package of having the Elkin and their Defector with tough, the Badger Bear with 4 health, Quinn with a bunch of health, Aatrox with a bunch of health, just a great way to kind of force your opponent to have to two for one themselves over and over and over again. And so I really like that aspect of the deck. I feel like this is the day to where if you're really looking to edit and alter your deck going into the second day, the place I would probably start to look is going to be with the Blinding Assaults. It's a card that I think is still quite strong against scouts, but as you go against a bunch of P and Z based removal decks, the Blinding Assault really does go down in value, and so I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out today, since it's not going to have a bunch of all-star matchups running around. Up next, we have Galio, Jarvan, Garen. This is a deck I've been quite happy with. It does have a handful of oddities in here that you may not be used to. We're playing 1 copy of Wrath of the Freylord. Up at the top end, he's just kind of makes all of your units unblockable. He does everything that Ashe wants to do, kind of all tied up in 1 card. And so I've been quite happy with it. And then the addition of things like Garen in here. One of the problems I kind of found with the late game in this deck is you build up these boards, you make in a big final attack that doesn't quite kill your opponent, and then you're kind of stuck with a bunch of 2 and 3 health Formidables that can't actually get into combat again. And so the addition of things like Garen do allow us to kind of fight through that. Otherwise, we have the Omen Hawk Badger Bear package. We mentioned the Elusives. We do have things like Durand Protege in here to pass out Tough. We talked about Tough as well. I've been quite happy with how this deck played out. The last thing to say is you do see a lot of these Formidables decks that only play Champion, Strength, Gentleman's Duel, and Sky Splitter. I feel like that's just not enough interactivity, so we do bring in the 2 copies of Harsh Winds as well to give us a little bit of a way to come in and combat things like Darius, Gnar, and combat things like Jax, Ornn, the more mid-rangey decks of the format. And then, of course, it can be quite useful against things like Elusives. If your opponent's coming at you with a Battle Furied Fizz, then having access to Harsh Winds is kind of nice there as well. Last but not least, we have the Jax Ornn, fairly straightforward Jax Ornn deck, nothing too crazy within here. I do really enjoy the Wild Claw's Ferocity. I think it's fantastic in this format. It's excellent against things like Nyla Janna that just can't block it and typically have a lot of struggle actually killing the cat form. It's just the easiest game closer out of this, and then it almost single-handedly levels up your Jax, and then if it gets to strike, it should be leveling up your Ornn as well. And so I think it's a fantastic activator within this deck. The other things to kind of call out, the Omen Hawks are in here. Again, I want to have the ways to block the Elusives. The other kind of ways we can potentially combat decks like Elusives and have a little bit of game against things like Nyla Janna is the Bellows Breath. This is a card that you typically see between 0 and 1 copies of. We kicked this up to 2. Since it does have a lot of boards to where you can completely annihilate what you're doing. Against Nylajana, they do have a lot of 3 health units, but it is able to clear out all of their quick attack units or anything else that's already been damaged. And then if you're up against scouts, it has a lot of summoned units that it's able to take down. You can run into a lot of draws against scouts to where the Bellows Breath doesn't kill much, right? If they've curved Misfortune into Scrutinizing Sergeant or something, you're not going to get too many kills that way, but they do present a lot of really aggressive draws with Mirai Wardens and the like that the Bellows Breath can clear out and hopefully give us a bit of an advantage there. And so that's the lineup, that's the strategy, those are the decks. I mean, this is the tough part, right? We're out here trying to pay to win, and we did that in the previous video. Everything in these decks, all skinned up, all premium. There's nothing left we can do. We're going to have to say, Riot, get out here. You know what you need to do? You need to come out here and start printing Jack's Ornn skins so that we have some more stuff to buy. And so no more prices to be paid today. It's been all paid up on these cards already. I think our Garen didn't have his skin on though. Do we got to go back and fix that? Oof. How did we make it so far in this event without our Garen loaded up on the rugged skin? I don't know. But nonetheless, let's go ahead, jump into battle, see if we can't take down a match or two before this event is over. All right, let the battles begin. Up against Krypton Gold. This is a fairly interesting lineup with Jax, Ornn, Darius, Gnar, and then Heimerdinger, Norra. I touched a bit on Heimerdinger, Norra within this season, and it wasn't something that I was particularly pleased with. It's one of those decks that it does what it does. It does pretty strong things against the units that are trying to be like go wide attacky decks, but I ultimately ran into too many issues with it. But let me see what else we have here. Let me see how these look really quick. This isn't a lineup that I'm super excited to be going about. Yeah, it looks like we've got some problems across the board, but hopefully we can try and take down the Heimerdinger Norra. It looks like our Volibear deck, our sort of Volibear deck, if you will, should be the kind of weaker one across the lineup. I would expect it to probably stay up, and then he'll have to decide if he wants to play a Jax Ornn mirror match or if he wants to play against Aatrox Vayne. But I kind of feel like the Darius Gnar matchup is a little bit more manageable than playing against Heimerdinger Norra. We could take a peek at the Heimerdinger Norra and see like how much of a struggle it's going to be. It looks like a fairly standard version here with the Ruination up top and then the Eclectic Collections as kind of the Janna counter, but the thing that ultimately worries me about these are when you come in and you've got the pie tosses and the hate spikes and the soul harvesters. You just have so much like really good removal in the early game that it's a bit problematic for the Formidables to get up and running, and then they can blow up your equipment with things like Aatrox Vayne. And so with this one in mind, I'm pretty sure that's the one we want to take down. I'm fine to play against Jax with everything that we have. It is a weaker matchup for both Volibear and Aatrox Vayne, but I think, man, are we going to leave that one up? This is a tough one. If we want to leave the Jax Ornn up or leave the Darius Gnar up, it's just like I feel a little bit better against the Darius Gnars when we do have the various harsh winds in our deck. I wonder what his kind of in-game removal suite looks like. No harsh winds out of this, no surprise. Battle Furies and Decisive Maneuvers, one copy of Pirouette. What does his Jax Ornn look like? 2 Ferocities, 1 Harsh Winds kind of card. Not a ton of interactivity. Not playing the Forged 2-drop. No, he's got more Overwhelms in here. So there's a much more aggressively slanted version of Jax Ornn than we're playing. I think we're gonna take down the Jax Ornn and play against the other 2. Let me see. We gotta. Oh. What are you doing? Ban a deck. Okay. I wanted to take a quick peek at these just to get my head around what he's playing with. We can take screenshots of the deck list themselves, but trying to wrap my brain around whatever else we're seeing here. Okay, Jax Ornn. He takes away our Jax Ornn, that's fine. And let's just kick things off with Aatrox Vayne. It's going to be our stronger matchup into either of these. If we have to play one of these matchups twice. I would rather have 2 opportunities with the Aatrox Vein deck, and so we'll see what turns up here. All right, and we need a much faster start than this. I'm not opposed to hanging on to things like Darkened Spear. If you're able to get a Darkened Spear down on a Broadwing or get a Darkened Spear down on a Steadfast Elkin, it does let them kind of come in and combat all of the 3-power attackers coming out of the other deck. So it's, you know, kind of a close keep. But if we have one of these hands, especially on the even attacks to where we don't have any 1s or have any 2s, we're just going to fall so super far behind. And so we'll send the Spear away as well. Give us another opportunity to try and pick up a 1-drop. Didn't hit, but we've only got 3. So it's not like that was the highest chance in the world. But the Petricite Broadwing did turn up. And a Defector comes in, so we can get big things going on turn 4. If we want to load the Darkened Harp onto the Defector. I think that's the angle that we're just going to be taking here. We'll go ahead and attack. If he wants to put the Tusk Speaker in front of the Broadwing, I'm okay with this. Takes away a lot of his opportunity to just come in and deal overwhelm damage. And it's not like crazy to think that he's going to have another unit for the Crimson Pigeon to get the support bonus with, but there is a non-zero chance that he just doesn't have a play there. Pretty lucky top deck with the Elkin turning up. Give us another blocker that we desperately need here. So you're really thinking of pirouetting this turn? Legion Saboteur. Okay. The Saboteur, it's tough. It's the unit I would like to take down here. I feel like we're going to get enough big units on the board after this turn. And then it takes away the opportunity for him to keep dealing that 1 damage ping. Like once we finally get our bigger units on board, especially if we're able to get Quinn down before he attacks on the next token, it takes those opportunities for damage away. We'll put it in here. It still doesn't feel great. You know, if he has the Darius available or whatnot, he's going to get to crushing. But if we can manage to swing around and get Aatrox going or something, we're going to have some serious opportunities here. But I would say he almost certainly just takes this full 12 damage on this round. Does give us a chance to potentially finish things off on the next attack token, though. If it doesn't go his way, we might be able to slam in some big attacks there. Says, nope, I'm bringing it. Got that pot full of pain on the ready. And so I think we just have to take the 7. He did have things like Nox and Tellstones in his deck. If he has Decisive Maneuvers, we're dead either way. But this block out here on the Defector does let us, you know, survive and keep our scout unit around. It's very easy for us to just get taken down in this space, but I think it gives us a chance. 3 Sisters, yep, that'll do it. Didn't pick up any interactivity here. All right, Darius Gnar does its work, takes us down, easy peasy. Now we got to fight that uphill battle against Norra. But, I mean, we do have some kind of bonuses in terms of going against Norra. We did bring that idea of being able to block the elusives, which can be quite important against Norra. We have the blocking Badger Bears in this match. And then he is playing the Eclectic Collection version, which is something that's kind of there for Janna. And so we might be able to take some advantages in that space as well. Now, this is a pretty interesting start. It doesn't do anything against Norra, but it is quite strong with the Ranger Knight Defector Darkened Harp combo. We are on the even attack, so we would be able to kind of pull that thing off. I think the big question is this hand good enough, even if he has a Quietus? And he was only playing 2 copies of Quietus, and I think it is. And so I am going to send away the catch. I would like to see if we can't cycle around to something else there. See if we can't pick up a badger bear or something. Catch says no way. No way, Bust. I'm too important today. Let's see. Never blocking this bird. He doesn't take the chance anyways. And a fish fight. Okay. No reason to get too crazy on this turn. So we got to put something in. I'm leaning towards the Darkened Spear. It's like if he's going to have a Quietus, what equipment do we want to lose? And the Spear is kind of nice, but I guess the other card we would have to worry about is going to be things like Calling Strikes. And if he has a Calling Strike, I don't want to just be straight up losing the unit here. And so we can load up the Elkin. This does leave us in a space on this turn now to where we can get the Defector going with the second Harp. I think that's where we'll want to go. It is kind of nice to just spread out all those stat bonuses within our deck, though. Loading up the spears. Let's see what he does. Might also be in a space to where we would want to just fish fight something. It's just like, how important is the size of our units? It's not that big of a deal, but getting to play around Calling Strikes because your Vayne has +1/+1 is kind of a nice thing to have, so we don't have to protect our Vayne with things like Catch. I think I'm on board. And then one of the nice things here is these attacks do, strengthen up the World Enders as they can potentially come in. Alright, send those stats in. See if the Vengeance rolls through. Hate Spike. Okay. Well, he hasn't really done anything. I don't think he's drawn any any of the half of the deck he would want to draw. I don't think it's really turned up. The Donger is a bit of a problem. I don't think I want to just try and take him down this turn. Maybe that's just too greedy. Does give him the opportunity. Yeah, I'm liking this less and less. It's like I see the space to where they have just 2 mana, and you're like, it's not that big of a deal. But once it gets to the point to where, if he bursts out an Eclectic Collection, that can be kind of problematic with the Donger just knowing that he can get those big and expensive spells. All right, now it's like if we go for this and he has the Vengeance, it's just a complete shit show. I don't like. I think that was a pretty major misplay there, putting the Badger Bear down. I saw all those stats and got excited, and now I'm not particularly pleased with this. We can still fight through a 6-mana spell. We do get the chance to just strengthen up the Ranger Knight Defector, but just letting him untap with this Heimerdinger was a mistake. So I'm sure he'll take the block with the Wrench Bot here. He says no thank you. I'm so unscared I don't even need it. But we can still manage here. If we pick up another equipment, we can load up for Aatrox. Any of the non-spear, non-harp equipment would have let us draw on and played an Aatrox this turn. Now it's starting to look a little nasty. He just hit a Glory Seeker. Wow. Okay. All right. This one was just nasty. We let this get away from us. We just have no plays this turn either. Getting completely domed. Oof, that was brutal. That was brutal. There's no way to say that we could have come in and still won this game, but we would have most certainly been in a much more effective position. But we can protect our defector, make sure it doesn't die. We're almost dead. He does have the 1 point from the perilous pastry that can, kill us. So we'll have to see what we can do here. I'll put the thing on the defector, bring up his health a little bit. I'm not... I think we need to hit something with Anaka next turn. We have the choice of either card draw or picking up the units with Anaka. Right, we're gonna want to get a Darken on the board.
Easy does it.
I guess the going for the card draw, it's like if we do manage to come in and pick up, I think we need to go for the card draw. Like our angle kind of out of this is going to be, we have to get the Floor Be Gone off the board. And so if we pick up a Cataclysm or if we pick up any of our removal spells, then we can use that to take the Floor Be Gone off of the board. Yeah. Sad noise. Look how out of hand this game has gotten just because of the Heimerdinger. Like, it's that was savage. Like it's just like every single problem card there was from a turret, and so we just completely punted that one away. And so pretty easy match for Krypton Gold, a pretty quick and fast exit for us out of the top cut. That was a fairly rough lineup for us to have to come in and face. This was one of these matchups to where our lineup does not look particularly strong against this. We didn't even bring out our bad matchup in the in the Galio deck, and so props to him for having a good attack space here against what we were doing. And it was just a brutal point for us to have to run up against. And so, would have been interesting to see what we do had we opted to take down that Heimerdinger. That was a definite missight. I wish I could have pulled that back as soon as I did it. But that was ultimately a fairly costly point at the end of the day. And so that's all it takes. It just takes one little misstep and it'll knock you right out of these things. But nonetheless, a short video for the day. Hopefully, as the next event rolls around, we'll be able to dig in a little bit deeper into the top cut. Didn't get to match our top 8 from that last Eternal Open. We're out of here fast. And so, that is going to do it. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, especially about removing Heimerdingers. I hope you had a good time watching. This is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.